in general, we exchange value. And that's not what love is, right? That's not a relationship, a really good quality romantic relationship. I do it because I love my wife, right? I love her as a person. I love her as a human being having a human experience. And as such, I'm willing to do things for her. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Tim, how's it going, brother?
Very well. Off the back of recording two very fun, interesting, and enlightening podcast episodes with you, sir. I love our conversations. And you're looking very still on this one. You must have stopped your glute work, which is always looking at the band. Always picked the band up, always got the club bells.
I've been doing club bells. You haven't turned the video off to not distract you last time.
Awesome. So, Doug, I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Do I have permission to ask you this question?
Yeah, hit me.
How do you seduce your lovely wife?
Great question. Great question. So I can tell you the way I do it or the ideal way. And full transparency.
Is it not the both? They're not both the same?
They are not, my friend. And it's embarrassing to admit, especially in public, right? I am a work in progress like everybody, and I could definitely do a better job of seducing my wife. It's something I think about, and it's something that unfortunately falls through the cracks more than I'd like to admit. But let me tell you how I do it. And I'll go into also, I'm happy to go into more detail on how I would like to do it further and take it further.
Awesome.
So first it starts off, Tim, you should know some background. I know my wife's love language because it's not mine. My wife and I, if you're not familiar with love languages, there's a book called The 5 Love Languages. I believe it's a book that every man should read. Now, I don't say things like that lightly or very often, but it's definitely a book. If you haven't read it, go get it. So I know my wife's love language. And before, when we first started dating, I didn't, right? So I would try to show her love, you know, in my love language. I would do things for, mine's acts of service. I love it when people do things for me, and I always try to jump up and do things. And in fact, at our Alpha Resets, Tim, you'll probably notice that I get up and I try to help Mel cook and clean and do things for the guys. That's just the way I show love. And sometimes frustrates me when other people don't do that. Because I'm like, how can you not be?
Must be me. I must frustrate you then, because my acts of service ranks so low for me and for Amelia. You must get annoyed with me.
And there's been a time or two. But so my wife's is quality time, right? So that's where so when you talk about seducing her, one is I realize and I plan out spending quality time with her, because actually quality time, Tim, is very low on mine. Very low, right? I actually sit around, which probably annoys you, thinking, why are we wasting time just sitting here?
Yeah, you do. Yeah. I'm like, chill.
We should be doing something, right? It's my default. And it is that, well, doing something is my version of chill. So, and it's always been that way. So the first thing to do when I talk about seducing my wife, the first thing, it starts off the moment we wake up. In fact, actually, that's not true. It starts off before. So when we go to bed at our family, I set the house up, so to speak, the next day. The way my wife and I have it worked out is my wife doesn't work. And I say doesn't work in a traditional manner. And she takes care, we have a 2-year-old. She takes care of the 2-year-old. She does have her own business, and she's very successful at that. But most of her time is taking care of our family, and which is the hardest job, in my opinion. I got the easy way. So when we go to bed, I make sure that the house is set up. It's secure. The lights are off, but I also set up and prep for the next day, because I know it's important to her, and I want her to feel lightness. I don't want her to wake up to a ton of dishes, a dirty house, my clothes strewn all over the floor. And most of the guys, we talked about this at the Alpha Reset, can relate. You know, I don't want her to feel like she's taking care of me, right? I'm not a child in the relationship. I'm the man. I'm her husband. I lead. I lead by my example, but I also lead as a man. And I want her to wake up and go throughout her day knowing that she's married to a man, not to a boy. So that's the first part. And most guys don't think about that, right? They think, oh, I'm married and my wife will take care of my laundry. My wife will do the dishes. She'll cook for me, whatever it may be. And even if you're not in a traditional relationship, like my wife and I kind of are in a more modern traditional relationship, I would call it. You don't want to be that boy, right? You don't want to be that guy that's got his underwear laying on the floor and things of that nature. So I take care of that. So it starts the night before. And then the next morning, oftentimes, because I know it's important to her, and I did it this morning, is I lay in bed with her and I hold her, right? And oftentimes, more often than not, if I do that quickly goes into making love, right? We have sex. It's great. We're connected. But I know that's what she wants, is she wants to be held, and I hold her as a man. She wants to be held, and I'm spending quality time with her. I also tell her things that I love about her, right? Things that make her unique and special to me. So she knows that I see her in all of her amazingness, right? I've learned this as well, as one of the things is women want to be seen by their man. The number one complaint when women cheat on a man in their lives is they don't feel seen, right? They don't feel seen or heard, but mostly it's seen, right? They use that word, I didn't feel seen in the relationship very often. So me being, maybe not, being just a guy, I think, okay, if they cheat because they don't feel seen, then being seen would make them feel even better. So being seen and being desired. So I let her know that she's both seen and desired. And then, again, quality time. Sometimes I'll grab my son. I'll go get him in the morning. I love doing that. Or she'll come with me, and giving her some space to herself, to allow her to be in her feminine energy, right? To give her some creative space. So she's not wiping, my son's bottom, and she's not doing all of those things. I want to expect her to be sexual or in a sexual space when she's just gotten done, changing my son's diaper. There's a lot of guys that we talk to that just don't get that. Their wife has been changing diapers all day and cooking and cleaning, and they come home and they expect, a blowjob right away. Like, wait a minute, come on, dude. You guys,
I'd say that with the wrong woman. Only joking.
I know you are. I know.
That doesn't work. God, that works for me. No. I love what you're saying. It reminds me of a book that I'm listening to right now on Audible called, let me just bring it up, Models Attract Women Through Honesty, by a guy called Mark Manson. And I've never actually digested any books on pickup or anything like that, which this is kind of a book on pickup. However, that what I like about the message is that he talks all about really not being needy. So when you are a man and you are looking to engage with a woman, not doing it to get any kind of reaction back, not being more invested in her opinion of you than you are in your opinion of yourself. And the reason why I bring this in here is because, when you were saying about saying these things to Erin, so telling her the ways in which you see her, holding her, doing some of the other bits and pieces, you're not doing that out of a neediness to get something in return. No. It's not transactional. Oh, well, if I do these things, I know that is then going to seduce her, and I should, get laid this evening or this afternoon or whatever. It's not about doing anything for a result, because obviously when you do it for a result, one is then not consistent. Two, obviously the women are way smarter than guys. They feel it, don't they? They know it. They know what you're doing. They know what we're doing when we're doing stuff for a particular reason. They're so intuitive. So, you're doing it out of your commitment and desire to uphold your role in the relationship of being the man and leading, right?
Yeah. So, I want to add on to that. And I know where you're going with this, but I do it for a couple of reasons, right? There's 3 levels of relationship, and depending on the book you might read or study, there might be 4. But the one you're talking about, transactional, is horse trading, is what it's called too, right? I'll do this for you if you do this for me, right? That's the same thing we do in business. I'll give you $100 or 100 pounds if, you give me a massage, right? Or not you, Tim, but in general, we exchange value. And that's not what love is, right? That's not a relationship, a really good quality romantic relationship. I do it because I love my wife, right? I love her as a person. I love her as a human being having human experience. And as such, I'm willing to do things for her, regardless, right? Regardless of if I get anything in return. It's just purely out of love. It's purely out of love. And because I do it out of love, that's felt. You can just feel it, right? You can feel when someone loves you and someone wants to take care of you. That's very different, than horse training or some kind of transactional. Now, don't get me wrong. I used to do the transactional love, right? I did the dishes. I, sweep the floor. Now you got to give me a massage, or you got to do this for me, whatever it may be. You got to give me a blowjob. And that's transactional. That means I was only doing those things to get something. I was keeping score. And when I made that shift, I really made that shift in our relationship, Tim, things started to really change for us. Things got to another level, and they continue to do so. And it goes both ways. It becomes reciprocal, but not from a keeping score standpoint. My wife loves to do things for me. I love to do things for her. We just do that, and we just take care of one another and think about one another. And that is part of seduction. It really is. And you're talking about you're reading a book on pickup. I think all married men, all men in committed relationships should study pickup, right? Because we forget in some way. It's almost as if we get into a relationship and, our skill set, right, out on the prowl and seducing women, we forget it, right? It goes by the wayside because we've gotten a woman and we've gotten the woman we want. And so we stop seducing them to some degree and to a greater degree. So I like you, I also study seduction, and Robert Greene's got a great book on seduction. There's a lot of them that are out there. I like Neil Strauss and a bunch of other people, but we as men get to study dating and seducing the women that we love in our lives. And if you're a single man, you should definitely be studying this as well, but also married men, date and seduce your wife. Because chances are, if you, and this has been said before, I've heard this said, and I heard this from Tony Robbins, who got it from somebody else, I believe. But he said, if you're going through a hard time in a relationship, right, the chances are you're not doing the same things you did when you first got in that relationship. Because if you were doing the things you did at the beginning of the relationship, that at the end, there would not be an end.
Hey guys, I want to interrupt this episode because I want to talk to you about something important. We put together a case study on how almost 300 men have taken control of their lives. They're 4Xing their business revenues, and they're having more connected and intimate sex, all without sacrificing their relationships or their health by using the activation method. Now, a lot of you have contacted us and you want to know how they're doing it. We put together this short 11-minute case study just for you, so you can see how these entrepreneurs are achieving this level of success. To get this case study, all you have to do is go over to thepowerfulman.com/11. Yep, that's 11. And you can get the case study right now. All right, it's only 11 minutes and it's going to show you exactly how these men have done it. All right, let's get back to the episode.
That's really powerful. Like when you think of you and Amelia, right? Were you doing more things? I don't know if she listens to these podcasts, so I have to be careful. But were you doing more things for her when you first were dating her and treating her a special way or what have you? More so than now? Obviously, things have changed, but did you focus more energy, I should say, on the dating aspect of your relationship?
So it's kind of two questions there, wasn't there? One is, did you spend more energy on the dating? And two, do you do more things for her now than back then? Do you know what? I'm so tempted to just go bring her in and ask her, because I've got my interpretation of this answer, but I'd love to know her answer.
Bring her in. Bring her in. I say bring her in.
She would not appreciate being brought in.
I'll interview her.
I think that I'd say I do more now than at the beginning of the relationship. I'm definitely interested to hear her take on that. And the reason why I say that, I mean, obviously we live together now. We didn't used to live together. There's a lot more that goes hand in hand with that. And Yeah, I'm obviously uncertain in my answer, as you can tell. So I'd be definitely interested to hear her take, because there's my take, and then there's the reality. So I'm going to ask her for sure.
Well, let me give you my perspective, because you and I are very open and transparent with each other, and I've known you for some time. I know that you've been consciously studying this, right? Relationships, intimacy, sex, dating. And you've consciously, this is not your first book. This may be your first book on pickup, but it's not your first book on relationships. In fact, this is probably the 6th book that I know that I could name off that you've gone through. And that tells me that you are consciously investing in Amelia and your relationship with her. That's huge, right? We often say in The Powerful Man, show me your calendar and I'll show you your priorities. You can say the same thing with show me your Audible list, right? Your book list or what you're studying, and I'll show you your priorities. And for you, one of your priorities I know is business, because you're always teaching the men. But another one for you is your relationships. And that's part of seduction, Tim. So you say, how do I seduce my wife? Well, one of the things is she knows that I'm working on becoming a better man. She encourages me to go to the alpha resets, to fly around the world to help these men, because I come back a better man, right? I come back to her even better than I was before. And when she knows that I'm reading books on seduction or dating my wife, she knows I'm doing that to better our relationship, which of course makes her feel better, right? And that's what seduction is about. She's feeling desired, right? Because her man is working on bettering their relationship. And we have a phenomenal marriage. People are often telling us how our marriage to them is, the pinnacle, something they look towards. And we've had our ups and downs, right? But we are constantly working on that. And that's part of the seduction phase. And you're doing the same. You do the same with Amelia. No matter who it would be, keys to the kingdom, all these things that you're studying in relationships. So that's not surprising to me that you do more for her now than you did in the beginning. But for most men, that's not the case.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I feel like I do, for sure. I'm still going to ask it, because I always, whenever things come up on the show, I always ask it. I love getting a response. And one of the things about this in this book as well that I really like is he talks about, obviously, the aspect of not being needy in communicating with women. And this could be a partner, it could be a woman you've never met, and so on. And he also talks about going hand in hand with that, being able to communicate transparently without needing them to approve what it is you're saying. Knowing what it is that you like, knowing your own opinion, knowing your own mind, and communicating that honestly, clearly, and with love for yourself and for them as well. And at that point, when you're doing that, the woman obviously is then able to feel that sense of leadership, which obviously feeds into the seduction as well.
Yeah, and that goes hand in hand also with vulnerability, right?
Yes.
Be strong and be vulnerable and transparent. I think that's where a lot of us guys, certainly me in the past, have missed. Right? We think we have to, I got to be the man, I got to lead. Therefore, I can't tell her about any of my faults, right? Or any of the thoughts that I'm having, or if I'm worried about something. And the more vulnerable, truly vulnerable I am and leading at the same time, the more secure she feels, the more close she feels to me. And as men, we get to, the scariest place for us to go, and we see this at the Alpha Reset, is to be vulnerable in front of other people, to truly show them who you are. And that is true power. And when you allow your woman to see that vulnerability and strength at the same time, coming from a powerful place, not a victimhood, not a whiny place, but from a powerful place, that is very, very sexy to women. And that's why, Tim, we get women who reach out to us through the Powerful Man going, hey, can I get a list of your graduates? Because I'm looking for a powerful man.
Literally as well. Literally. That was great. I've had that asked of me about 4 times. 4 times.
My wife has her girlfriends asking her, right? They hear these podcasts and they're trying to share it with their men. And some of them are in relationships that are looking, they're not feeling seen or seduced, and they're looking one foot in, one foot out the door. But especially the single women, she's getting asked all the time, like, okay, can Doug send a few of these guys our way? Like, wait a minute. Because how sexy is it that the man is so powerful, or standing in their power, that they're willing to share themselves vulnerably? That's true power. And they're going from really adult boys to adult men, and following the path of the alpha and taking care of the people around them. And that's, for a woman, for anybody, that's just a sexy thing.
Yeah, at the end of the day, most women want to be protected first, provided for, although they obviously like to be able to make their own way as well and have the freedom to find their own path in that way. But for the most part, the innate instincts within nature and within women and men, the women want to be provided for and protected. And that provided for is first and foremost an emotional provided for. It's not financial provided for or materialistic provided for or so on. And, again, you're so true in what you're saying. And just to summarize here, because the question was, how do you seduce your wife? And, the points that you've brought up so far, first of all, is, taking the lead and being the man. It's not leaving clothes around. And, we recorded a podcast episode on not making your lover your mother. So basically that aspect. The second part you then said is knowing your wife's love language and giving her love in a way that she wants to receive it. The third thing is then doing all of that without any expectation or need on getting something in return. The fourth thing is then showing up and leading, being vulnerable, communicating honestly, openly, and from a place of power. And as a result, the women feel safe and secure knowing that their man is there. Anything else you want to add?
Well, there's a lot more that I do, but we just got to morning lying in bed.
Give away all your tricks.
we haven't gotten out of bed yet.
Listening. Before you know it, she's going to know all the playbook.
You know what? She'd love it because it's not tricks. That's the key, right? It's not tricks, and the playbook is designed for her to win, and for us to win. And that's really the difference in mind shift, I think, from seduction, right? Seduction, the person can know they're being seduced. And for a lot of people, when they know they're being seduced, they enjoy it just as much, right? From, a few keys as we go through and we're running out of time, but, dating her. When I date my wife, I pick the restaurant. I tell her what to wear. I tell her what to plan for. Sometimes I give her an option, like, do you want to do this or this? But we don't sit around going, I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? That whole thing, that's not leading. So, and nobody likes that. So I'm decisive. Hey, are you free? I'll ask her as if it was a date, and I know her calendar, but are you free Thursday? Which I did this past Thursday. Are you free Thursday? Because I want to take you out. At 2:30, I like you to be ready, and I want you to wear athletic clothes because we're going to do something active together. And that's what we did, right? And it was simple. Like, we went to the gym together, right? And worked out together. I work out at one gym. She works out at a different gym just because one has childcare. She could take our son. And I'm a member of another one because we travel so much. The point being, Tim, is we just worked out together and walked by, and I'd walk by her, headphones in, her headphones were in, give her a pat in the ass. And she would do the same. She walked over and gave me a kiss as I was using a machine. So it becomes flirtatious at the gym. Our endorphins are up, we're sweating, but I've also told her exactly what we're going to do. And, I'll even tell her what I want to do to her sexually, especially when we're in a place where we can't do it, right? Because that builds the tension. And that's really where seduction comes in. You're really building friction and tension in a positive way, right? Where you want something and that you let them know you want them, but you can't do it yet. So there's that anticipation. It's like saying, hey, Tim, I got a gift for you. And you're like, well, where is it? It's in my bag. I'll give it to you in a minute. Like, you're just going to be whatever. Right now, you're probably, even though I don't have a gift for you, you're probably like, hey, well, I want my gift. Like, where is that? Where's that anticipation?
Long overdue.
What's that?
Long overdue.
Long overdue. Yeah. I'll give it to you in Morocco. So, those are some of the things that I do. And as I said, there's a lot more that I would like to be adding to my arsenal that I don't do currently, that I do intermittently. And even being in this conversation reminds me of those things I get to do to make my wife feel even more special than I do already.
I imagine as well how you show up as a father.
Yes.
how you are with Bodhi has, when we were at yours before the Alpha Reset just passed, I could see, I can't remember what it is you were doing with Bodhi, whether you were playing or holding him or whatever. And I could see the way in which Erin was looking at both of you guys. And, you could clearly tell that it was just making her heart melt. She was loving it. And, that versus, being on your phone or being short-tempered or whatever else, I imagine that plays a huge part in this too.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I almost don't consider that because to me, it's just what I do, right? It's just being me and being the father that I want for my son. It's very important to me. And so, yeah, but yes, every once in a while I catch her, and it goes both ways. When I see her being a mom, it's very sexy to me. And I can go on and on about, I think my wife's the most beautiful woman in the world. She's amazing. And we've cultivated that. And like every man watching this, if you're in a hard relationship right now or in a dip in your relationship, one feels like it's never going to end. Two is your partner's the ugliest person in the world, right? So those things happen. And for Erin and I, we've done the work, and we continue to do the work together on seducing each other, which, our relationship continues to build and blossom. And there's a lot that we do on that, way too much to do in one podcast episode. But maybe we'll do a part 2 of this in the coming weeks, and I'll share some of my other ninja tricks and tips, as well as some of my epic, and I've got plenty, epic failures.
That'd be great. I'd love to hear them.
I bet you would.
Do you know what else we should get on for that one? Mel.
Yep. So we'll get Mel on. Mel is one of our head coaches, and he is phenomenal. We get Mel on for some seduction talk and talking about love. But I'd love to hear some of Mel's best and worst scenarios. And we have to keep this episode somewhat censored, huh? If we get Mel on.
That'd be great.
Well, Tim, that's a wrap for us in time. We got to get down to, you and I have another meeting here coming up with some guys in the Brotherhood. Any final words for the men?
No, there's not. I mean, well, yeah, there is actually. I always say no, there's not, and then I say more words. Yeah, there is. There was so much gold in there. I really enjoyed that conversation. Thank you. Reminded me of a lot of things that I get to do and recap on a few things. And yeah, it's phenomenal. The people in our life that matter the most, often the reason why we are doing what we are doing, can often get forgotten about so easily. And we often think that we've got all the time in the world when we really do not. And we've seen it so many times when, out of left field, the guys then get handed the divorce papers. Yeah, it's been brewing and coming for a long time. They've just not paid attention to the signs. Don't be that guy. Make the most of the amazing wisdom that Doug is sharing here. And the invitation is for you to use it. Do something with it.
Love it. Love it. And Tim, I would love to hear what Amelia says when you ask her. So let me know how that goes. All right, gentlemen, that's a wrap for us in this episode of The Powerful Man Show. We always love hearing from you. And of course, if you can rate or review wherever you get this, that helps other men like you find us and continue their journey. Look forward to talking to you soon, and hopefully I'll see you at one of our Alpha Resets.